So, because when a student is applying to a school like where Christina was at Barnard that doesn't give merit-based money, then your only way to get money really is to have a financial need. When the assessment is done of the income and assets and your SAI is generated, your student aid index, if that number comes back and it's lower than the cost of attendance, then there's potential for need. Friends, I am beyond stoked. We're kicking off our brand new YouTube page with a blast from the past. Two friends from the past, Christine, Lopez, Susan Tree. Welcome. And for any of you who don't know, we used to serve together on an educational board in New York City. So we're reunited again, and it feels so good.
It does.
So good.
So we are doing a little bit of a series, and I call it Grinding My Gears. Our regular past podcast listeners know this is a regular feature. And I'm sharing 15 things colleges do that grind my gears, 15 things parents/students do. And I'm just asking for some commentary from Christina and Susan. And we're going to keep it real. If they disagree, that's good. If they agree, that's good. We're just going to be authentic and just kind of speak our truth, as we say. So you guys ready for the first one?
What's weird, Mark, though, is
Yeah.
I'm realizing that in our YCBK family, these people may never have known what we really looked like unless they looked on the webpage, right? So I just want to apologize in advance if any of you out there are disappointed.
Oh, stop it. Everybody looks lovely.
No one is disappointed.
But you know how when you listen to radio personalities, you have a vision in your mind about
they never
what somebody
look like how we envision them.
I know,
Whatever
but here
their
we
vision
are.
was, it's only enhanced.
Yes.
It's only enhanced. All right, we're going to kick off with a doozy. This is on the college side. When colleges present that they meet full demonstrated need in a way that makes a family think they're going to get a great offer. We know that the FAFSA formula and both the institutional methodology formula tends to take way more of a family's discretionary money than they ever think it will. And they're often left having to pay tens of thousands more than they are expecting to pay. And sometimes colleges will say, oh, don't worry, you can apply ED because we meet full demonstrated need.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't need to worry about the money. We got your back. That's the implication. So that's kind of what grinds my gears. Thoughts from the ladies?
Well, first and foremost, the operative word there is need, right?
Yeah.
It's not how the family defines need, it's
Right.
how the
Yes.
institution defines need. And a lot of families are shocked that their income, their assets, they're told that they have no need. So that's usually not understanding what's actually going into how they determine need becomes the issue. And colleges aren't very clear on what they're assessing. Families don't realize that their income is assessed anywhere between 20 and 45% of that assessment, and their assets are another 5%, including, if it's a CSS Profile school, their home equity, right? And so
Correct.
that's assessed as well. And so part of that issue is we get a lot of common phrases in higher ed, but no real explanation on what those things mean.
Right.
And when it comes to the financial aid, that's really critical for a lot of families.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Susan?
No, I agree. Coming from a college counseling perspective, I'm always trying very hard to give families the best advice possible when I know the price tag really is going to matter. Mark is the best teacher that I've ever known who's been able to explain actual, financial need analysis. But the variation from school to school can be, especially with institutional methodology schools. But even with FAFSA only colleges, a lot of parents believe they're going to be getting a substantial amount. FAFSA only colleges seldom say that they will meet full need, right? That generally is, if it's a CSS Profile institutional methodology, then the net price calculators may or may not be completely accurate, but at least they steer a family kind of in the right direction.
Yeah, and I just think there's just mass ignorance out there, right? And Sure, calculators help a lot. We talk about that more later, but it's the presentation of it in a way that you don't have to worry about money because we've got your back. It's more when
Right.
that is implied that I'm like, whoa, 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 because what Christina said, like, your perception of your need is going to be very, very different, right? Like a lot of times when
Mhm.
families start making not much more than six figures, colleges start taking more than 45% of your discretionary money after taxes is expected to go to colleges, and that's just not
Mhm.
what a family thinks. And
Mhm.
so it's when it's
Mhm.
kind of linked to that, like, because a lot of times you could be leaving, like you could be leaving more than six figures on the table, especially when you take into consideration the crazy merit money that's out there. And so it's just when it's
Yes.
tied together, as in, no need to worry about money, we gotcha. That's when I
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
okay, I just wish it wasn't presented that way. I understand you're a school, Christina. I should say something for those of you who are brand new. Christina spent 20 years both at NYU and Barnard in very senior level leadership positions, all the way at the top, and has read or overseen 100,000 applications. Susan's in her fifth decade of doing this work, has spent over a quarter century on the counseling side and senior level director leadership role, and has been in admissions for more than a decade on the school side and been a reader at multiple institutions. And so she's seen reading in lots of capacity. So we have a powerhouse team here. For those of you who
Absolutely.
are wondering, who's Susan Tree and who's Christina Lopez?
Well, and we both live in Westchester, but she's in the New York State Westchester, and I'm in the Pennsylvania Westchester.
Yes.
That's kind of funny.
Yes.
Mark, could you explain what you mean about leaving money on the table?
Yeah. So I'm talking about getting, in terms of, are you getting your best offer? Right. So, because when a student is applying to a school like where Christina was at Barnard that doesn't give merit based money, then your only way to get money really is to have a financial need. When the assessment is done of the income and assets and your SAI is generated, your student aid index, if that number comes back and it's lower than the cost of attendance, then there's potential for need. But so many times it doesn't, especially if you're living in a higher cost area. And even if a school makes an adjustment for that, it usually doesn't make the amount of an adjustment that really accounts for what it's like to live in San Francisco or New York or in the Bay. So then it's very, very often a family will come back and either not qualify or qualify for a very small amount, when if it's Barnard's a very competitive school. So the kind of student that could get into Barnard, if they're applying to the right other schools, there's going to be a lot of schools that would throw a lot of merit based money off that, because all of that analysis is strictly need based. But from a family standpoint, they're just thinking of how much I have to pay. I just want to know how much I have to pay. I'd be a lot more comfortable at 40 than 90 or 95. And a lot of times they may not know that there's schools that might actually ask them to pay. And it depends on the individual, right? They could pay even less. They could get full. I mean, we see a lot out here. I'm thinking of a student I'm working with this year in the Pacific Northwest, and pretty outstanding student. And there were some schools that threw crazy merit money at her, and one of her offers was like under 10,000, right? And it didn't necessarily mean that they picked that school. So that's what I mean by when I say leaving money on the table. Like, you're not necessarily getting your best financial offer, even that it can be presented in a way like you have nothing to worry, no financial things to worry about. We got your back, and that's all that I'm saying. So yeah, awesome.
And I think that's a really it's a big point, because a lot of families don't understand how financial aid works. And it's almost like, when you go to buy a car and you're just like, I feel like, at least for me, I don't know how buying a car works, right? Like, there's the sticker price, but you don't pay the sticker price, and then there's a certain amount they can take it off or what have you, leasing versus buying, etc. And that opacity lives in the financial aid system too. So, okay, now do you know there are schools that give need-based aid and schools that give merit-based aid? How do you know the difference between the two? How do you find those schools where you could be competitive for the merit aid? A lot of schools will say we give out millions of dollars of merit aid, but actually it goes to a very small percentage of their incoming class, right? Because it's based in scholars programs. And so,
Right.
how do you know if a school is giving out merit on a larger basis and spreading that out? And also, how much is that based off of that going towards total cost of attendance? Like, how much would it actually cover? If it's only covering maybe 10%, then it doesn't really matter.
That's right.
So, all of that data is public, but people don't know how to find it. And so that's a big piece.
So, friends, we're going to wrap it up here, but I'm going to ask if you're liking this series, I'm going to ask that you like, you share, you subscribe, and follow and click the bell notification, and you'll get all the notifications of all future episodes. So, yeah, we're going to have a new one of these. Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.